everyone, it's Linda Hayes coming to you from beautiful Belize. Right now I'm sitting in the Naya Resort in Placencia after the Real Estate Guys Summit ended. Stayed on the island for a few days and brought a couple of my friends from San Pedro over to Placencia to show them around. And I will do a video on this place later on, but for now I want to go through what other topics we covered in the summit. So this is part 2 of the series on the conference that I want to talk about. If you missed part 1, you can just scan the QR code there to watch that one. One of the cool takeaways from the first part of the conference was the cowboy auction, which I talk about. It's a barter system that works pretty neatly, and there is a realtor group in the US that does that. So if you're curious about it, go back to part 1 and take a look at that. So one of the speakers that's very enjoyable to listen to is Kim Kiyosaki. So you're probably familiar with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book by Robert Kiyosaki with the Rich Dad Company. And Kim was at the conference last year along with Robert. This year it was just her because Robert couldn't make it. But she was part of a lot of different panels. And also the cool thing was she has a special session just for the women to talk about business and any questions we have. And she does talk about the mission of the company, which is about educating as many people as possible. And one interesting thing you may not know is that the cash flow game was their first product. So that was made before the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book was actually made. So the cash flow game is something you can play online or you can buy the game. And it's a great way to teach people how to invest and how the difference in your life might come about by getting out of the rat race, as they call it. So I put a link there to the Rich Dad website that you can look at to kind of see how it works. And the cash flow game is something that happens in many communities where you can play, teaches you how to do income statements and balance sheets to show what actually happens if you try to get passive income to replace your actual work income. So another really cool speaker we had was Danielle DiMartino Booth. So you may have seen her on CNBC, Fox Business, and Bloomberg. And she spent 9 years at the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. And she also has a book called Fed Up, an insider's take on why the Federal Reserve is bad for America. So this was a really cool surprise at the summit, as she wasn't actually announced ahead of time. So you can see some of her slides here on global debt piercing fresh heights, which is probably not news to anyone. And she had a lot of slides on things that signal recession, so demographics being one of those. So you can follow her on her website. She does have a newsletter, so you can kind of see what she's talking about. And it was really cool to have her on many panels and show kind of what she thinks in terms of how the economy is working. So the Investor Summit is a lot of work. I mean, we're up pretty early for the sessions and they go mostly through every single day. We had a couple afternoons where we had optional activities such as the rum tasting that you can see a picture of there, and also the cash flow game where I showed that already. But we also did have at the end, after all the sessions were done, an optional snorkeling and catamaran trip to Key Cocker, which was a lot of fun. But one of the highlights of the summit every year is the dinners. So we have assigned seating with different people every night, which is great to get to meet other people, but they're also very strategic. So because I have short-term rentals, I was sitting with Tim Hubbard one night, who's very experienced in that arena. And because there's lots of people that have similar interests, you'll notice that you end up sitting with people that have a lot of things in common with you. And so that's definitely by design. So it's one of the big advantages of this conference over other ones that I've been to. So when I posted on my Facebook about the event, a couple of my friends in Belize were wishing they had known about it. So here is a link to get on the advance notice list if you're interested. And you can see some of the pictures of some of the cool people I was hanging out with, including George Gammon when we went on the Key Cocker excursion. So we had a lot of fun on the summit. And if you didn't already know, the Real Estate Guys is how I found out about Belize initially. So they do have lots of real estate events to learn about investing. So I went on the Belize Discovery Tour with Robert Helms, and there's a Jacksonville one, and any real estate market in the US that might be good, they actually often do field trips there so you can see the market in person. So here's a lot of the links to some of the people that were speaking at the conference, along with some of the books you might want to read. So there's lots of resources to learn more about what's happening in the economy with inflation and all kinds of things that are very important as investors to know. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon in Belize.